She mocked me to her family. He's so embarrassing. He works that dead-end, blue-collar job, while my friends date executives. I agreed. Immediately quit my mechanic job, returned as the scion of a real estate conglomerate, and watched her and her father pale as they realized I was his new boss. Her wine glass clinked against her mother's crystal. "Come on, Mom," she laughed. "He's not exactly husband material. He's a mechanic, not a man with a future. My friends are dating executives, and I'm bringing home someone who smells like motor oil." The entire table burst out laughing. Her father chuckled awkwardly. Her mother hid a smirk behind her napkin. Her uncle muttered something about, "At least he can fix your car." I just sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, feeling the heat crawl up my neck. Rachel leaned back, clearly enjoying the attention. "He's sweet, though," she added, twisting the knife. "I mean, he tries. It's kind of cute, really, watching him talk about spark plugs like they're stock options." Her laughter echoed through the dining room. That's when I smiled. Not out of embarrassment, but clarity, because while they were laughing at the man they thought was just a mechanic, I was already thinking about how tomorrow I'd quit the garage, return to my father's company, and take my place as its new managing director. They didn't know it yet, but the next time we met, I'd be the one sitting at the head of the table, not because I was hiding something sinister, just because I wanted to see how people treated me when the last name Harrison didn't mean anything. My father built Harrison Properties, one of the biggest real estate development companies in the region. My whole life was marble floors, golf memberships, and conversations about quarterly revenue. When I turned 24, I decided to walk away from all of it. I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town, got a job at a local auto shop, and started fixing cars. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. There's something grounding about ending the day with grease on your hands and a job well done. That's where I met Rachel. She worked at a nearby office, smart, funny, with that kind of confidence that makes people listen. She brought her car in for maintenance once we started talking, and somehow I left her with my number written on an old receipt. For a while it felt right. She didn't care that I wasn't career material. She said she liked that I was real. We'd get burgers after her Pilates class, watch movies on my beat-up couch, and talk about everything from music to travel dreams. But slowly, things started to change. She began comparing me to her friends' boyfriends. "Emma's fiancé just got promoted to senior manager," she'd say. "You ever think about doing something more long-term?" I told her I liked what I did. I was saving up to maybe open my own small garage one day. She smiled politely, the kind of smile that says that's adorable but not enough. I brushed it off. People had their opinions. I didn't expect her to understand what it felt like to earn something with your own hands. Still, the cracks kept showing. She'd hesitate to introduce me to people. If we ran into her friends in public, she'd always rush to explain, "Oh, he's helping me with my car," as if the word boyfriend would tarnish her reputation. It hurt, but I told myself she just needed time. Maybe she wasn't used to dating someone outside her social bubble. Then came the dinner. She said her parents wanted to meet me. Nothing formal, just a friendly family dinner. I thought it was progress, maybe her way of showing she was serious. So I cleaned up, put on the nicest shirt I had, and picked up a decent bottle of wine. I even scrubbed under my fingernails, trying to erase every trace of engine grease. When she opened the door, she looked stunning. A dress that probably cost more than my month's rent. Hair perfectly styled. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled, and whispered, "Try not to talk too much about work, okay? My dad can be a bit judgmental. That should have been my first warning." Her family home was massive. High ceilings, portraits on the wall, table set with polished silverware. Her mother greeted me with a stiff smile. Her father shook my hand just long enough to seem polite. The first few minutes went fine. We talked about traffic, weather, surface-level things. But the moment her father asked about my job, the air shifted, like someone had just opened a window in winter. I told the truth. "I always do. I work as a mechanic at Brody's Auto, small shop downtown." There was a pause. Her father nodded slowly. Her mother blinked like she'd misheard me. Then Rachel laughed. It started as a soft chuckle, then turned into full-on amusement. "Yeah, Dad. He's my blue-collar project. I figured I'd try dating someone real for once. You know, the grease, sweat and all, I froze. The words didn't even sound like her." Her mom giggled. Her aunt whispered something about young people experimenting. I remember staring at the tablecloth pattern, tracing it with my eyes, trying not to let my expression change. Rachel wasn't done. She leaned forward, eyes shining with mischief. It's cute, though. He gets so proud when he fixes something. Like yesterday, he replaced a spark plug and talked about it for 20 minutes. Adorable, right? Everyone laughed. And that's when I realized something. Rachel didn't just see me as beneath her. She saw me as entertainment. That dinner was the moment everything changed. I smiled, nodded, and played along, letting her think I was too simple to notice the mockery. But inside, I was already planning what would come next. Dinner started with small talk, the kind that feels rehearsed. Her father asked about the economy, her mother complimented the centerpiece, and I tried to keep my head down, smile when appropriate, and not say anything that might sound too working class. Rachel, of course, ran the conversation. She always did. She looked dazzling under the chandelier light, wearing a dress that could have paid my rent twice over. Her laughter filled the room. Her family adored her. For a while I thought maybe I had overreacted. Maybe tonight would be fine. Then her uncle asked the question that cracked it all open. So, Ethan, what line of work are you in, son? I took a sip of water, smiled, and said, I'm a mechanic. Been working at Brody's Auto for the past few years. The silence that followed was brutal. Fawkes paused mid-air. Glasses stopped halfway to lips. Her father's eyebrows lifted slightly. A mechanic, huh? Well, everyone needs their car fixed, I suppose. Before I could respond, Rachel jumped in. Oh, Dad, you should see him after work. Covered in grease head to toe. Sometimes he smells like gasoline for days. Her mother gave a delicate laugh. Really, dear? You don't mind that? Rachel shrugged. It's an adjustment. My friends' boyfriends wear suits and drive company cars. Mine drives other people's cars, literally. Laughter rippled around the table. My chest tightened, but I kept smiling. Her uncle added, At least he's good with his hands, right? More laughter. Rachel grinned, eyes flashing with amusement. Oh, trust me, Uncle Peter, I remind him of that all the time. It's his one redeeming quality. The laughter this time was louder, crueler. Her father tried to change the subject, but Rachel wasn't done. She leaned forward, her tone turning mocking, almost gleeful. You know, sometimes he talks about opening his own garage one day. Isn't that cute? Like a little boy dreaming about having his own lemonade stand. Her mother smiled sweetly. Ambition is good, dear. Even small ambitions, that one stung. Even small ambitions, I looked at Rachel. She was radiant, confident, charming, basking in their approval. She didn't notice the way my knuckles had gone white around my fork. I wanted to walk out right then, but I didn't. I wanted to remember every word, every laugh, every smirk. Her father cleared his throat. Well, Rachel, at least he's hard-working. There's dignity in labor. Rachel rolled her eyes. Dad, please. You can say that. But would you really be proud if I married a guy who changes tires for a living? Let's be honest, he's sweet, but he's not a match. That was it. Even her father looked uncomfortable now. Rachel, he started, but she cut him off. No, I mean, it's fine. He knows what he is. Don't you, Ethan? You're self-aware, right? You said you're happy where you are. I put my fork down slowly. I did say that, I said quietly. Then see? It's fine, she said, smiling as if she'd just made everything better. Her mother reached for the wine. Well, at least you're stable. Stability is something, stable. Like a parked car. Like something that doesn't move, doesn't grow. I forced myself to laugh softly, shaking my head. You're right, Rachel. I know exactly what I am. She smirked, misreading the tone. Good. I'd hate for you to think I was being mean or something. I smiled back. No, not mean. Just honest. For a moment our eyes met and something in my stare must have unsettled her, because her grin faltered just a bit. The rest of dinner was a blur, polite chatter, fake smiles, the occasional glance of pity from her father. When it was finally over, I thanked her parents for the meal, shook her father's hand and walked her to the car. The moment the door shut, she started, You're mad. No, I said. Not mad, just thinking. About what? About how funny you were back there. Oh, come on. Don't be emotional. It was just a joke. My family has a dark sense of humor. You called me a project, Rachel. A charity case. It was banter. You're too sensitive, I looked at her. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe I really am not your match. She sighed in relief, misreading me again. See? You get it. I just wish you'd... No, I interrupted softly. You don't get it. You think you embarrassed me tonight, but really you taught me something valuable. What's that? She asked, crossing her arms. That I've been living small just to make you comfortable. She frowned. What does that even mean? I smiled faintly. You'll understand soon enough. I dropped her off at her apartment, wished her a good night and drove away. I didn't sleep much. So I just sat there in my small apartment staring at my dirty hands she laughed at, and realized I was done hiding who I was. By morning, I'd already written my resignation letter. By afternoon, I was driving back to my father's estate for the first time in years. My father didn't say anything when I walked into his office. He just looked up from his paperwork, smiled faintly, and said, "So, you're back." I nodded. "Yeah, I think I've learned enough about spark plugs." He chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Your mother said this day would come. Took you long enough." 2 weeks later, I was back at Harrison Realty, the family business. It felt strange at first, trading oil-stained jeans for tailored suits, noise and engines for marble floors and glass walls. But it also felt right. My father was preparing to retire, so he named me as his managing director, overseeing project development. I dove into work, and for the first time every decision I made mattered. The irony wasn't lost on me. A few months ago, Rachel mocked me for fixing other people's cars. Now, I was approving multi-million-dollar contracts that would decide the future of half the city's construction projects. I thought I'd moved past her, honestly. But fate and Okama has a wicked sense of humor. One Thursday morning, my assistant walked in holding a folder. "Sir, the next meeting's with Miller Construction. They're here to discuss the maintenance subcontract for the new downtown complex." I froze. Miller Construction. Rachel's father's company. "Who's attending?" I asked. "Thomas Miller, the owner. And his daughter, Rachel. She's presenting their proposal." I smiled. Slowly. "Good, let's make sure they're comfortable. I wouldn't want them to feel out of place." At 10 a.m., the conference room doors opened. Thomas Miller walked in first. Professional, confident, oblivious. Behind him, Rachel followed, carrying a binder, her expression bright and composed until she saw me. She froze mid-step. Her face went pale, lips parting slightly in disbelief. "Ethan." Thomas turned. "You two know each other." I stood, buttoning my suit jacket, smiling politely. "Good morning, Mr. Miller. Yes, we've met before. Quite memorably, in fact." Rachel's voice trembled. You're with Harrison Realty." "Not with," I corrected gently. I'm Ethan Harrison, managing director." Her father blinked, as in, Harrison? "That's right." Silence. You could have heard a pin drop. I gestured toward the seats. "Please, have a seat." "Let's review your proposal." Thomas sat stiffly. Rachel lowered herself slowly, eyes darting everywhere except me. I flipped through their contract papers calmly, letting the silence stretch. Every page turn was a heartbeat louder than words. "Your numbers are decent," I said finally. "But I see some inconsistencies in your cost breakdown." Thomas cleared his throat, nervous now. "We can adjust those, of course. We weren't aware you'd be the one reviewing." "No reason you should have been," I interrupted lightly. "We don't advertise every change in leadership. Some things are better revealed in person." I let my gaze flick toward Rachel. She looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. "You know," I continued, "this reminds me of something. Once someone told me I didn't have ambition, that I was just a man who'd never amount to much." Rachel's eyes met mine for half a second, full of panic. "Funny how things change," I said, sliding the folder shut. I leaned forward slightly. "Your company's work history is solid, Mr. Miller. But our board prefers partners who treat all people with respect, whether they're clients, employees, or mechanics." He swallowed hard. I understand." "Good," I said, standing. "Because respect goes further than reputation." I extended my hand to him. He shook it, weakly, almost reverently, and muttered, "It's a pleasure, Mr. Harrison." "Likewise." Rachel stayed seated, staring down at the table. "Rachel," I said softly. She looked up, eyes glassy. "Next time you laugh at someone for their job," I said, "make sure you know which company your father reports to." Her lip trembled. "Ethan, I didn't mean—" "You did," I said calmly. "And that's okay. I needed to hear it. Please don't take it out on my father." "I'm not," I said. "He's a professional. This is business. But what you and I had, that was personal. And you made sure to burn that bridge yourself." Her father stood, clearing his throat again. We should go. Of course, I said, stepping aside. Thank you both for coming. They left quietly, her heels clicking against the tile, each step echoing louder than the last. When the door closed, I let out a long breath and finally smiled. Not out of spite, but closure. For months she'd made me feel small. That day, I realized I'd never been small at all. I'd just been quiet. 2 days after the meeting, my phone buzzed late at night. It was Rachel. At first, I almost ignored it. But curiosity won. Her message was long. Messy paragraphs, typos, a tone that swung between apology and panic. I didn't know, Ethan. If I had known who you were, I never would have. That line alone told me everything I needed to know. She didn't regret what she said, only who she said it to. Still, I called. I wanted to hear her voice. She picked up instantly. Ethan, thank God, I've been so ashamed. Please, just let me explain. There's nothing to explain, I said quietly. You were honest that night. Cruel but honest. I was showing off, she said, voice shaking. I wanted my family to like you. They judge people. I thought if I made jokes it would make things easier. By tearing me down? I asked. Silence. I didn't mean it like that. You did, I said. And it's okay. You just showed me who you are. She started crying softly. Ethan, please. I don't want this to be how we end. It already is, she sobbed harder. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me fall apart. I exhaled slowly. No, Rachel. I'm not enjoying it. I'm learning from it. There's a difference. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, Do you still hate me? No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. But I can't respect someone who laughed at me for working hard. She tried one last time. I can change. I know, I said. Just not for me. I hung up. And that was that. A week later, her father, Mr. Miller, came to see me in person. He looked tired, older somehow, Mr. Harrison, he said, shaking my hand. I owe you an apology. For that dinner. For my daughter's behavior. You don't owe me anything, I said. She made her choices. He sighed. She was raised in a world where appearances mattered more than substance. Maybe that's my fault. We all learn things the hard way, I said. He nodded. For what it's worth, I've always believed there's dignity in honest work. I just wish she'd understood that sooner. I smiled faintly. Maybe now she will. He hesitated before leaving. You handled this with more grace than most people would have. I had practice, I said. Being underestimated has its perks. After that, life moved on. Work got busier, the company grew, and I threw myself into projects that actually meant something. Affordable housing, community developments, the kind of work that reminded me where I started. Sometimes, I'd still drive past Brody's auto shop, the garage door open, the smell of engine oil in the air. It reminded me that no matter how high I climbed, that place, that version of me was real, and I liked him. He was honest, grounded, the kind of man who could handle being laughed at and still show up the next morning. Months later, I ran into Rachel at a charity event. She looked thinner, quieter, the loud sparkle gone. She approached hesitantly. You look different, she said. So do you, I replied. She gave a small, sad smile. You really became the man you always were, didn't you? No, I said. I just stopped pretending to be less. Her eyes glistened. I'm sorry, Ethan, for everything. I know, and do you ever miss us? Sometimes, I said truthfully. But I think I just miss the version of you that existed before that dinner. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and walked away. That was the last time I ever saw her. That night I drove home with the windows down, letting the city lights blur past. For the first time in years, I didn't feel angry, or proud, or vindicated. Just free. People think revenge means getting even. It doesn't. It means standing tall when the people who tried to shrink you finally see how small they always were. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't have to shout to prove people wrong. Sometimes the quietest kind of success, walking away, building yourself, and letting time do the talking, speaks louder than any comeback ever could. Thank you for listening, for staying until the end. If you've ever been underestimated, laughed at, or told you weren't enough, I hope this story reminds you that you never have to dim your light just to make someone else comfortable.